What's up, everyone? Today I was planning on working on the windowsill around the 1946 drift truck, but tomorrow we're going to have a nasty snowstorm. Watch, we'll probably not get anything, but you know, hey. So instead, today we are going to go ahead and tear apart the 1997 Dodge Ram so we can get as many of the parts off of this thing as possible so we can get things down the road. We will be hopefully starting out with this very shortly. Of course, like I said, the last video, that I did find, I can't believe it, $400, a donor engine, transmission, and transfer case, which we'll be able to sell the transfer case and hopefully be able to get a tail shaft and everything so we can convert it over to two-wheel drive. But thank you, John Wilburn. He actually sent down a link to a controller for that transmission so we can get a little bit more, because it's electric transmission, but a little bit more control over it. We will try to see if the original transmission controller is salvageable, but knowing how most of the yards pull engines these days, I don't think the wiring harness is going to survive. So, but that's what you get for cheap. You get good quality products, just no wiring harness, which can be a little bit of a pain. But you get what you pay for. Yeah. Anyways, these gloves are way too cold, and it's like low 20s right now. So I'm going to go down to Advance Auto and see if we can't find a pair of gloves for, I don't know, relatively inexpensive. I know I have a couple coupons. All right, guys. As you can see, I am jazzed up with coffee. And actually, before I go, I'll finish it up and, yeah, take a trip. Of course, everything's a trip where I live, so you can't just go to a local parts store. It's not like 5 minutes away. It's, you know, 15. All right, guys, let's do this so we can start tearing it apart. Unfortunately, I'd like to work longer, but it's not getting any warmer, and yeah, it's gonna get dark real quick. So I've been cleaning up, and that's the end of day one. Now, where we're at, we had a few hiccups today, which slowed us down tremendously, but we put the radiator in a good spot, nice and safe. I don't think we'll be able to use it in this one. I'm actually thinking if we can't find a different coolant, like a higher end coolant system for what would be in there, maybe a performance oriented one, I think that would be enough. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But anyways, electronics are all pulled except for a few things on this side, just grounds and miscellaneous stuff. We'll suck that over to there, and then we got to go ahead and see how much of this is integrated into the dashboard so we can remove that. And tomorrow we're going to go ahead and take the intake manifold off and then separate the engine from the actual the body here. Now we'll have to do some modifications inside the engine bay on there, but nothing too traumatic. It's a lot bigger. They did actually have Cummins in a little bit later version of this, but same engine bay. But yeah, it's cold. Shit, very cold. So we'll see you tomorrow. Today's another day, and I did see a few flurries just popping down, and we are supposed to be getting quite a bit of a snowstorm, and they keep increasing the amount. First it was 6 inches, now I think we're close to 24 inches. So we're looking at quite a bit of snow. That being said, I was hoping to pull this out yesterday, and as you saw, we had a bit of confrontation with things. We'll put it that way. Though, great news, we did just, well, my wife and I just went at the doctor's, and she had the anatomy exam, and we are going to have a healthy boy. It is just past the 20-week mark, and Theodore, like the president. Yep. All right. Let's get to work. We have a lot to do before the snow starts to fall. We got to get the two plywood underneath here, and I need to drag the engine hoist out. Now, nothing really else to do, just to pull the mounts and a little bit of wiring. Like I said yesterday, we still have some wiring on the driver's side right here because I want to be able to pull all the wiring out as a whole. And I'm tempted to set it in the engine bay over there. But I guess we'll wait and see what happens, because I do have a thing I'm going to be turning into a gun safe right in there, which will be interesting. So, yeah. If worst case scenario, it weighs like 100 million pounds. So, you know, I'll try pushing it out of the way. But, yep. Also, well, the clutch fan seems like it works fairly well. I'm very surprised. A lot of times these things will spin completely freely. So, all right, enough talk. Let's chat. Let's get to work. All right, story time. One of the reasons why I love this 1981 Dodge Ram is because this was my first truck I ever bought. And it's actually the first truck I ever fell in love with. So around 6 years ago, I started working for my stepdad, my step-uncle, and I gotta say, this thing was just crammed in back of our shop. Now, our shop is 50 by 100, and so plenty of room. They had a couple trucks just laying around. This was one of them. It's just the body lines on this thing was fantastic. I don't know why, and it just screams American muscle. And I know, not muscle car, but muscle. And it had a utility bed on it. This thing was just covered with fasteners. You know, it had pipe in the back of it. It was literally just a tool truck, like a toolbox. It had been sitting for 15 years, forgotten about, had a 318 in it and a 727 torque plate. Now it's got a 9 1/4 rear end, and it is a 3/4 ton pickup truck. According to the build sheet, which I don't know what I did with it, it might even still be in the truck, I believe it had 410 gears. Now, that being said, this truck was originally used by my step grandfather, bought brand new, and pretty much driven from his house to the shop. Sometimes would go out to one of the job sites. The odometer reads 28,000, probably closer to 128,000, but like I said, it really didn't get much use in life. My stepdad and my step uncle are both Chevy guys, so as soon as this thing started having a little bit of a mainsail leak on the 727, it parked. And it parked for 15 years and never moved. So when I got it, I bought it for $500. It was going to the scrapyard. I don't know why. The frame on this thing is in pretty darn good shape. There's very little scaling on it. And like I said, it was sitting for 15 years in the back of a shop. You know, they beat the heck out of it. They must have pulled something with it at one point. But this was all after it was parked. Most of it was just hit and stuff while it was in the back of the place. You know, a lot of the dings and dents just because people are a little bit careless when they're walking through the shop with, you know, 6-inch rigid conduit. You know, 6-inch rigid conduit makes easy work for denting things. As you can see, it used to have a much bigger set of mirrors. I believe these are off of a 75, maybe 75 Chevy truck. The problem was these mirrors that were on here, which I'd love to find a real set of what they're supposed to be. They're the ones with they sit out real big, but they wouldn't fit in my step grandfather's garage. So he replaced them with those 75 Chevy or GMC mirrors. And yeah, this truck is a great truck. So yeah, I woke her up after letting her sit about a week and a half with Marvel Mystery Oil in it. And I drove her for a couple weeks, and I was on one of the highways when she started losing power. I was able to nurse it off the highway, and that was it. So it got towed back to my grandfather's, or no, back to the shop where I pulled the 318 out, and I replaced it with a 360. We had a Edelbrock carburetor on it, Edelbrock single plane intake. The thing was really just terrible on gas because, you know, I never really built something as a truck, so I was going in the mentality of a car. And don't do that with trucks, not if you want gas mileage. So I did everything I would do on a small block, and, you know, single plane intake, big carburetor. The thing was a freaking monster. Do burnouts all the time. Just even trying to nurse the thing was pretty rough. One fun feature though was the exhaust was put together, and it looked like they did it with just rigid conduit with one of the benders and boogered welded and everything. So there was one clamp holding the back, the original OEM stuff, to the butchered together stuff. And if you revved it real quick and then let off and then revved, the thing would do a backfire and blow the exhaust manifold off. Not the exhaust manifold, the muffler off. Which was hilarious at stoplights. If someone was bugging you and they were like tailgating you or something, it sounded like a shock. They would leave you alone afterwards. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why I love this truck. I have a little, you know, a fond attachment to it. And the other thing is, a lot of people were suggesting, back onto what we're doing here, some people were suggesting I take the cab and just stuff it on this frame, and it's not that easy. You have to cut the firewall up quite a bit. And not that I'm 100% planning on restoring this truck someday. I might. Like, I love this truck, so I don't want to do anything too drastic to it. I should be able to, without too much of a problem, I say that now, drop this engine right in there. Also, we will box in some of the front frame just like they have up here. It's right underneath the cab. It goes back in and it's just C-channel the rest of the way. So we'll strengthen up this frame. It's not a big deal. But the biggest issue is this thing is really not as good as I was anticipating. You can see just how much scaling is on this thing. I don't have my my screwdriver. I'll grab a screwdriver real quick. So I haven't done the old test. I don't have my hammer, so we'll just use a screwdriver. As you can see, she's a bit on the scaly side. Not that I think she's really too terrible, just that thing has almost no scale on it, so we're gonna just go with that. Also, I drive a 3/4 ton, every so often a little bit bigger, but most time 3/4 ton truck every day, and it's 2-wheel drive, and I find I like the 2-wheel drive for like a work truck over a 4-wheel drive. And I know I live in a place where they get a lot of snow. We never have any problems with it, so you know, we're gonna stick with 2-wheel drive, and someday we'll do a 4-wheel drive, just not with this truck, because I don't want it to be 4-wheel drive. So I do appreciate everyone that think it would be really cool to put on 4-wheel. Maybe we'll do one of them someday with a 4-wheel drive, but sticking 2-wheel on this. Anyways, I've had enough distraction from being frustrated with the bolts on here. Oh yeah, that's one thing that I'm frustrated with. They should kind of stick with 1 or 2 sizes for certain things. Like the amount of different size bolts that they're using for this is just crazy. It's very frustrating. All right, now I'm hoping, and I know I'm supposed to take the intake manifold off before pulling it out of the truck, and that's the right way to do it, but I'm hoping we can avoid that and we can just sneak it out with a little bit of persuasion. I'm probably gonna have to take the intake manifold off, but we are going to be getting a lot of snow, so I want to do this a little bit quicker. So we're going to do it the wrong way, because it's going to be the right way. No, it's not. Well guys, I know my fingers and my toes are they're ready to go on strike, so I'm gonna go and have some more hot coffee, or yeah, probably just some coffee at this point. That coffee did me wonders. Now on this side right here, you guys are more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm like 95% positive. Right in front of this engine mount, we have our crankshaft position sensor, so we have to make sure that doesn't get damaged, because I think it might not be discontinued, but I know it's expensive. So we're going to go ahead and protect that. Once that's out of the way, we are just going to throw chains on this. We're not going to lift it up. We're just going to take the bolts and pull her straight back. So engine mounts, if I have to cut them, this one's cast iron, so it'll be a little hard. But if I have to cut them, I'm not going to worry about it, because they're 20 to 25 bucks for the most expensive one. Some are less than that, so not a big deal. We'll cut them. Problem solved. Yep, and then we'll sort out everything else at the end. big thank you to Kobe and Rich for stopping by and helping pull the engine out. Unfortunately, Rich had another project to quickly run to, and fortunately the snow's held off, but I don't know what time it is, but 7 o'clock it's supposed to start. But there it is, guys. And I'm not rich enough to heat the outside, so the garage is shut. All the leaves in the neighborhood are now inside. I was going to put a cold air intake on here anyways, so don't really care. She's out. And that's the thing I'm turning into a gun safe. The garage is a bit of a disaster right now, so I got that there and getting parts inside and other parts that people like Matt dropped off or hooked us up with. A little bit of a disaster, so unmitigated disaster. I'm frozen. I know Kobe's frozen.
I'm froze.
Truck is completely dismantled. I don't know how well you guys can see because she's dark out now. Well, she's not completely. What matters is completely dismantled. That's what matters. And only had a few things to cause us unbelievable amounts of headaches. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna run inside and we'll come back out and do stuff in a little bit. So that was a lot of fun. A little cold. A little cold.
Time for hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate. Yep. Too late for coffee. All right, guys, you have yourselves a glorious afternoon. Remember, if you haven't already checked out Kobe's Instagram, we'll put the link down in the doobly-doo. Oh yeah, you can't see him at all. He's like the dark figure in the night. It's like shadow play. I don't know. Like puppets or something.
Something.
All right, you guys have yourselves a wonderful night. Remember, keep your shiny side up, and God bless.